What's going on? What's going on? Grand Rising, Grand Rising. This is your brother Chief Kalanago Flying Eagle with another video. Let me make sure I got a little bit of audio on Facebook. Let me make sure we good, we good, we good. Where we at? Here we go. What's going on? What's going on? Grand Rising. All right, cool. So we good on Facebook. We got audio. Hope everybody's doing good. I know people might be at work right now. Some people may not be at work. It is what it is. If you missed the live, then you could always catch the replay. All right. You know me, man. I don't normally get involved with all the gossip and all that, but this is not gossip. This is pretty much, breaking down what Kanye West is going through. And a lot of people may not get it, but only he can get it. You feel me? It is not in your purpose to get what he's going through. He's living his life. That's his purpose, right? That's his own experience, right? And we get to see it from a different pair of lenses. Greetings, Empress Bella. So with that being said, brother Jason Chambers, what's going on? What's going on? All right. We are going to talk about Kanye. I'm not going to make this video too long, all right? Because like I said, I don't get involved with the distractions because that's what people are being distracted. Like literally everything on Facebook is about Kanye. Everything on YouTube is about Kanye. And it's truly a gossip, but people are not getting the true meaning, okay, or exactly what Kanye is going through. So I'm going to break that down, from my own perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm correct and others are wrong. Hey, it is what it is. This is just my own perspective on what's going on. But I'm going to go a little deeper with what he's going through. Okay. So with that being said, the basis of what's happening to Kanye is all about contracts, right? Contracts, a covenant. Okay. When you sign a covenant and you sign a contract, you have an obligation to perform based on that contract, right? It's an obligation. Now, if you do not perform according or based on that contract, then you are not in honor. So Kanye West is dealing with a battle of a covenant or a contract, all right, where either he has already performed and he do not want to recontract, or he has not met all the obligations of that covenant and he wants to get out of the contract. Okay, but one thing in contractual law is this: if for some reason a contract is causing you harm, you have every right to rescind the contract, because once again, no man or institution cannot force a man or a woman to contract. You feel me? Because the corporations that he's actually contracting with, they are not flesh and soul breathing living beings. They are legal persons, and that's why they have a right to contract. So you have to have at least a basic understanding of contractual law to know what he's going through, or what any one of us is going through within this matrix or within this United States corporation. So I'm going to approach this from a spiritual perspective, and I'm also going to break it down in a physical sense so that most people will get it. All right. So even when we manifested here into the flesh, that was a contract with the higher self and the lower self. The higher self had to sacrifice, okay, the most high, which is your higher self. Once again, may I reiterate, the most high is nothing outside of you. Even people who say, well, you know what, I'm not religious, I am spiritual, but yet still they pray to the most high, not knowing they pray to the higher self. You still got some ways to go. And it's cool. I'm not judging you. I'm not putting you down. I'm just letting you know you have some ways to go. There is no other God but me. Who is me? Me, I am that I am. So what am I saying? Yes, I'm God. Okay, you are God. We are gods. There is nothing outside of us. All right. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, what I'm saying is this: when the higher self decided to step into the realm of this physical manifestation, that was a covenant. It was a contract. All right. And part of the main covenant or the contract with the higher self was come and manifest into this physical world, have dominion over this physical world, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That was the first contract. That was the first covenant. Okay. It is really that simple. That was the first covenant with our higher self. But we fell short of that. Okay. So we started to fall. But anyway, that's a whole different story, right? The point I'm making is I'm talking about contracts and covenants. All right. So the higher self had to sacrifice itself per se, okay, to manifest in the physical flesh, to experience all these things that we are actually experiencing. Okay, so that's a contract, that's a covenant. Okay, and we made certain covenants or contracts with our higher self that a lot of us are not aware of in the physical sense because we don't know how to separate the physical from the spiritual. Most people, when they tend to think about themselves, I am, they look in the mirror and see a physical body. But when you truly know who you are, you don't look in the mirror and see a physical flesh. You look in the mirror and see I am. You see something that's endless. You see something that's absolute. You see just truth when you look into the mirror. That's why they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's within. It's not without. It's actually within, because what's most beautiful is the I am in you. You feel me? Not the flesh. The flesh is flawed. Why am I telling you all this? I'm giving you a basic foundation of a contract, okay? A covenant made between two or more parties. So let's go back to Kanye West. Kanye West got into an industry where it's all contractual, just like how everything in the United States is a contract. Because why? The United States is a corporation. I've gone through many videos explaining that. Title 28, Section 3002, subsection 15, capital A. United States means a federal corporation. So therefore, anything that you do within the United States is based on contracts. Okay, whether it's expressed, whether it's verbal, whether it's expressed through verbal or written, it is still a contract. And when you do not honor that performance that you are obligated to perform because of the contracts, the language of the contract, right, then you are in dishonor. Okay? So even United States citizen, when you go look at United States citizen, what does it mean in their code? It means what? A U.S. corporation, a business. A business is a citizen. All right? Well, Chief, why is all that important? All that is important because every day we are contracting and we are not reading the fine prints. We do not understand the lingo or the language of these contracts because we think we are looking at these contracts from a simple perspective of just speaking standard English. No, contracts are in English, but it's not in standard English. It is in a version of English that's called legalese. It sounds like standard English, but it's not standard English. You feel me? It is a whole different realm of language, existence, manifestation. And one of the words that people are familiar with, I will give you that one simple word. For instance, if you go to court and the judge asks you, do you understand me? In standard English, in the streets, whether it's slang or in standard English, it means, do you comprehend? Okay? Do you at least have a basic knowledge of what I'm talking about? That's what it means in standard English. However, in the legal system, that's not what it means. It means that, are you under me? It means that if you say, yes, you understand, it means that you're giving me jurisdiction over you. You're giving me power over you. You're actually telling me or agreeing that I am higher than you. You are acquiescing to my jurisdiction. So you see, same word, but in two different worlds, it means two different things. Okay, so that's an example of legalese and standard English. So therefore, we are living in a legal system, not a lawful system, a legal system. Okay, now I'm going to show you one thing before I move forward here, okay? And all this is allegory, what I'm getting into right now. Once I start speaking of the Bible, it is never taken literally, at least from my perspective. I just want you to know that, because people may, oh, well, Chief, why are you always talking about the Bible? I talk about the Bible or things in the Bible because there is a message, okay? My question is not who wrote it. The question is, did you get the message? I know Jesus wasn't a real man. I know there's no sky daddy. I know that, but there is a message in there. The question is, did you get the message? And too many people are focusing on the messenger and not the message, and they get stuck worshiping a messenger that never existed physically. And they are missing the message. You feel me? So we're going to talk about the law. What was the first, or how was the first form of law expressed? That's what we're going to look at right now, because this is everything between legal and lawful, and that's what we're working on right now. There's a reason behind everything that I say or do. There's a purpose. Kanye is making an attempt to become lawful and get away from the legal world. All right, so that's where I'm going with this, okay? So give me a second. Go to Google, all right, and definition of law, but not law in the way that you normally spell it, L-A-W. L-A-W is the written law. But before the written law, there was the spoken law. So therefore, we are going to get into that, and we're going to look at the definition of what that means. So let's go here for example. Let me show you this real quick. All right. So the first manifestation of law, it wasn't the written law, it was the spoken law. That's why Moses, Moshe, whatever you want to call it, he was not a historical figure, meaning that he was a historical figure, but he wasn't a real figure. Okay, he was personified historically to become a historical figure, but he wasn't real. Okay, once again, it's just the message. Did you get the message? So the first manifestation of the law was actually L-O-R-E, which is spoken law. It was given down through traditions. So when Moses went to the mountain on high, the Most High, right? Get it? He was given the law. In other words, that law was handed down to him, not written, but spoken. So that was L-O-R-E, that deals with law, the common law of the people. For instance, within our indigenous traditions, we didn't have written laws. We had spoken laws. That's why in court, your oral tradition holds more or has more power than written things that's on paper. Because if your grandmother or your great-grandmother said, hey, you are an American Indian, I was full-blooded American Indian, guess what? It doesn't matter what anybody put on paper. They cannot take that away from you. Why? Because your great-grandmother gave you the law, the L-O-R-E. So let us read exactly what that means. Law, L-O-R-E, a body of traditions and knowledge on a subject or held by a particular group, example, i.e. indigenous, example, i.e. Israelites, that's a whole complete different group. And that book is based on them and their God. We're all not Israelites. That's for that particular group of people and their journey, interacting with different tribes. And their God was looking out for them and sometimes punish them for not listening to them, to him. Now the question remains, well, Chief, what God are you talking about? I'm talking about their leaders, their so-called lords, the kings, the queens, the nobles. It ain't got nothing to do with no sky daddy. That's what people don't realize. So when we talk about the law, L-O-R-E, we are talking about a body of traditions and knowledge on a subject or held by a particular group, typically passed from person to person by word of mouth. So when Moses went to the Most High on the mount and he got the spoken law, it was handed down through him orally. Now he came down and then he wrote it while he was getting it from the higher self. It was written down, and that's when it became L-A-W. L-A-W is a written, the form that is written. Okay, Anything that exists in the physical realm, it comes from the spiritual realm. So as above, so is below. So it starts with the thought. Okay, so when he went to meditate within thought, his higher self gave him, he heard himself talking and giving him that oral law, Lore. And then he wrote it down, just like an artist, a rapper, a singer. They think of the song, it comes within thought, the higher self, the I am, the most high gives it to them. They go in the studio and they write it down. Now it becomes a living, a breathing thing. You see, over and over, we are living the experiences of what the Bible speaks of. But most people don't know that's there. It's literally a personal journey. It ain't got nothing to do with anybody outside of yourself. It's a personal journey that the Bible is telling you of through the examples of other groups. Whether you think they were real or not, that's irrelevant for now, right? So we're talking about law. So Lore, spoken, handed down through traditions, became the Law. Now, during colonization, the colonizers went to different parts of the world, to indigenous communities, and they looked at or they heard, so to speak, they heard the law, the Lore, and they wrote down the laws, okay, in the form of Law, all right, and started changing these laws into a legal realm, which is legal is of law, but law is not legal. I'm going to repeat that. Legal is of law, but legal is not a law. I'm going to give you an example one of my brothers used, okay? He used this analogy. If you have a carrot cake, you have basic ingredients to create a carrot cake. For example, you have carrot, which is the main ingredients. You may have flour, you may have milk, you may have some sugar. I don't know the exact ingredients to make a carrot cake, but that's not the point, right? Whether I'm missing a few ingredients, it doesn't matter. The point is, the main ingredients in that carrot cake is carrot, right? So the carrot cake is the law, right? However, you cannot take out all the carrots and then call it a carrot cake. You can't do that. It is no longer a carrot cake. It's the same thing with law and legal. Okay? Law is that carrot cake. And the main ingredients in the law is the carrot cake. But the system came and took out the carrots and tell you, oh, nah, this is still law. No, it's not. You see what I'm saying? It's not. So that's the best analogy. Well, one of the best analogies that I could give you. You feel me? Law is not legal, and legal is not law. However, legal is a semblance of law. It resembles law. It replaced law. So this whole corporation is operating on a legal system, but it's not lawful. That's why you could do something that's lawful, but they will tell you it's illegal. For instance, they trick you with it. In other words, here's another example. You have a right to travel freely. That's your right. However, they took that right and created it and turned it into a privilege, right? And made it illegal to travel without a license, because they call it another name, driving. When the truth of the matter is, you are only driving when you are doing commerce. But if you're not doing commerce, you are not driving. So you see, again, legalese. So it is lawful to travel without a license, but it's illegal to drive without a license. I hope that makes sense. And I'm not confusing you, because that's what this system is created for. To confuse, to confound, to dumb down the people. Now, how is all this relevant to Kanye West? I had to go back to the foundation of contracts, the covenants, so you truly get what I'm talking about. And again, to emphasize that everything in the Bible is an allegory for the most part. Okay? So let us go back to Kanye West and what he's going through. If you realize Kanye West is starting to call himself Yeezy, okay? Jesus, okay? Is Kanye wrong? Is Kanye crazy for calling himself Jesus? Is Kanye crazy for calling himself a God? Hmm? When Kanye said slavery is voluntary, that is something I was saying for years, even before I heard of Kanye West, okay? As a matter of fact, slavery is something, well, or servitude is something that has existed from time immemorial. Well, Chief, what do you mean by this, right? Typical example. As the moment the higher self decided to manifest into the flesh, servitude was created. I'm going to repeat that, okay? I'm going to repeat that. From the moment the higher self decided to step into the physical realm, that was slavery. Why? Because the lower self had to become the slave of the higher self. Hence the verse, slaves, obey your earthly masters as you would your God in heaven. Now, Israelites were tricked into, or they were brainwashed into thinking that they have a God that's actually enslaving them. Now, that's ridiculous. It is crazy. How can you say your God is good all the time, and all the time your God is good, but yet still your God is enslaving you? Does that sound like the actions of a good God? You feel me? And people get scared when you're talking about this God, like this God is big, bad, and bold. I'm not afraid of no God because I am God. I'm only fearful of me. You feel me? That's the only fear that I have of me, what I'm capable of doing and not being able to do. That's the only fear that I have. Not afraid of no sky daddy or any illusion of that God that they gave me. You feel me? So I am saying this to say, in Deuteronomy 28, or whatever the case may be, that verse, that they talk about the slaves and all that, that's a whole different story. But I'm talking about that particular verse. Slaves, obey your earthly masters as you would your God in heaven. I'm going to break this down again. Okay? I'm going to break it down again. Slaves, obey your earthly master. Who is the slave and who's the earthly master? It had nothing to do with anything outside of yourself. You see, it became an expression of that because man manipulated the truth when the esoteric, they knew the truth and they were teaching the truth. But the layman, the basic man, the common man couldn't comprehend these things, this higher level of teaching. So they were looking for, what do you mean I'm God? What do you mean this? What do you now? We need something to worship. So they started worshiping idols. When the truth is they were being taught that they were gods. Even Jesus said it in Psalms, in John, ye are gods. And he reiterated, didn't I tell you that you are gods? Because you are children of the Most High. Who's the Most High? And who's the child? The Most High is the higher self, and the child is the manifestation of the higher self, which is the Most High. Shucky ducky, quack, quack, quack. I'm giving myself goosebumps. So when you know the truth and you're able to articulate the truth, then guess what? You have already freed yourself. So Kanye is embarking on a journey where he's making an attempt to free himself. And he has some of the aspects of how to free himself, but he haven't gotten it quite yet because he's being distracted with all the attention, but he's on his way. So people are actually ridiculing Kanye West for freeing himself from all these contracts, calling him crazy, and that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And when I say they, I'm talking about the system. You feel me? So slaves, obey your earthly masters as you would your God in heaven. It simply means that the slave is the physical body, the flesh. That's the slave. It's supposed to work and bring some form of gratification to the higher self. Okay, so that's the slave. The earthly master is the higher self because it is in earth, but it's not of earth. meaning that it's only within the realm of this body, and it's experiencing what this body is experiencing through the physical self, the slave. Okay? And heaven is a mental construct. As a matter of fact, this dwelling is my heaven. Why? Because I've made it my place of serenity, my place where I could walk around naked, my place where I have no inhabitations, my place where I'm not being judged, my place where if I feel like lying on the floor, which I do, I could do that. I have a mattress. I don't have it on a box. No, the box is in there, but I don't put it on there because I like sleeping on the floor. Okay, the mattress I have, it has, you know, two little hangers, like two little things, loops that you could hold on to carry it back and forth. Guess what I do? I stand up and I put my hands in that little loop, or whatever you call it, right? And I curl the mattress, right? I do my exercises, right? The point I'm making is I feel free in here. It is my own little heaven that I created. So heaven is truly within. And once you have come to an understanding that heaven is within you, the kingdom of God, which is the higher self, is in you, then you could manifest heaven no matter where you're at. That's why you could be in jail and be in prison, but yet still not be in prison. Because they haven't imprisoned the mind. Here's another example of that. Go look at the movie Hurricane with Denzel Washington. He was in prison, but he wasn't imprisoned. It's two different things. You see what I'm saying? When you go look at the Sphinx will give you another analogy of slave, obey your earthly masters as you would your God in heaven, meaning that the higher self should always be the God or the master. So when you look at the Sphinx, you will see a depiction of an animal body and the head of a human or a man or a woman, which is telling you again that you should always, the master should be the higher self. The problem is we have allowed the physical body, which is the animalistic part of our body, we have allowed our lower nature to be the master of the higher self or the higher nature. So in other words, we flip the script, and people walking around talking about they spiritual, they Christians, they this, they that. Man, listen, man, y'all are lost. I'm sorry to tell you, it just is what it is because you haven't quite gotten it yet. And it's okay. I'm not judging you. You feel me? And that's just part of your journey. But you're still lost. You're finding you're not lost. You're finding your way. Let me rephrase that. Okay? So, is Kanye crazy for calling himself God or Jesus? Even when I tell my mom, my sister, I love them dearly, but they're Christians and they just don't get it. And when I tell them I'm God, they say it's blasphemy. And you know what? I forgive them because they know not what they speak of. They think they do, but they don't. Because why? Every Sunday, they go sit in front of a pastor, a preacher, telling them, interpreting what the word means, when nobody should interpret that to you because the truth is already within you. It is only a guide, a written guide. So when you see Kanye is rebelling, it is Kanye's higher self that wants to be free from the physical bondage. Now, he may not do it in the way that you want him to do it. He may not be doing it in the way that you comprehend what he's going through, but it's none of your damn business. It's his journey. It is not yours. Which brings me to the next part of this lesson. Everyone have to go through their own crucifixion. That is the story of Jesus. And Jesus wasn't a physical, literal, historical man, but yes, he was historical. He was historical for the simple fact that he was given a personage. And if you go into history, you will find him because they created a person for the story. They created a character for that story. But if you go past his birth, you will never hear mention of him. That's why in the Old Testament, you will not find the word Jesus or Christ. because it wasn't time for his manifestation. But however, he was in the form of Adam, Isaiah. You see what I'm saying? That's why Jesus said, and I'm paraphrasing, from the beginning of time, he has always been, not necessarily in the form of Jesus or Christ, but in another manifestation, in another reincarnation. You feel me? And even when he was crucified and he rose after 3 days, how is that the people that you were vibing with all your life, walking around them, talking around them, right? And then all of a sudden you died, and in 3 days you rose and you came amongst them and they cannot recognize you. You have to show them the nail in your hand for them to say, oh my God, it's Christ. Why is that? Because it was another manifestation. It was another reincarnation. It's the same thing with us. This physical body that Chief Kalanago is in right now, that wasn't the same body I had 2,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago. No, I was in another manifestation. And that's what this is all about. When we manifested here from the source, okay, the Great Spirit, as individuals, and I've already broken that down, hence we are called individuals. All right, in is an indication of within. Divide, meaning that to separate from the all. Individual, it's an internal separation, division from the all, which is the source. You feel me? So once you start getting these things, it is only the physical body that is separate from the all. But yet still, the I am, the higher self, the most high in you is always connected to the all. And I'm going to give you another verse to break that down as well. That's why Jesus said, once again, the allegorical Jesus said, my Father and I are one, but yet still my Father is greater than I am. Well, to the layman or the person who don't think deeply enough will think, well, hey, that's the contradiction. How can your Father and you be one, but yet still your Father is greater than you? Well, Jesus, what do you mean? All it simply means is this. My Father and I are one, but yet still my Father is greater than I am. It means that my Father and I are one in the absolute sense, in the spiritual realm. But yet still, when I'm individualized in the flesh as Jesus, the man, my Father is greater than I am. However, I have to go back to the Father. That's when I became the Christ, and my Father and I, we are one now, because the Christ is the anointed one, the highest self. Now I know I'm preaching to somebody today. You feel me? So when Kanye starts saying, well, he's a God and he is Jesus and Kanye is just doing exactly what the Bible said. That's all Kanye is doing. Kanye gets it, but he may not know how to articulate himself in so many ways. And even if he does, the system will make him look like as if he's crazy. And that's where the crucifixion comes in. You see, we all have to live the life of Jesus, not realizing that Jesus is us in the physical sense. Every individual is Jesus, but not every individual is Christ, because Jesus wasn't Christ. He had to be baptized first, okay, then be crucified to be anointed. Because once again, all Christ means is anointed one. It is just a title. Christ is not his surname. He did not come from the family of Christ. No, it is anointed. His coronation, so to speak. Get it? Coronation, corona. But anyway, we're going to leave that alone, right? But the point I'm making is this. We all have to go through that persecution. Even when the allegorical Jesus went on the mountain, I think that was Matthew, what was that? I think Matthew 4, 1 to 11. And he was tempted by Satan. Most people think that Satan is a devil with a pitchfork, red outfit, flame blowing at his nose, and he's sitting on one side of this world, and God is sitting on the other side of this world, and they're playing Russian roulette. Oh, well, let me roll the dice, or rolling the dice. I'm going to roll the dice. Oh, now, God, you take this one because he was bad, right? Oh, Satan, now you take that one because she was good. Oh, vice versa, right? That is not how it works. It never worked that way. You feel me? All Satan means is an adversary. That's all it means. And religious people, particularly Christians, took that word Satan, which only means adversary, and they personalize it, okay? And they give it a persona to be the villain or the nemesis of the higher self or the God. And they externalize all of this, not realizing that God and Satan, which is the higher self and the lower self, is actually within you. And it's the one you feed the most that gives life. It's the one you feed the most that's going to manifest. So if you feed the higher self, meaning that the God in you, you are going to be godly. And if you feed the lower self, which is the adversary of the higher self, then what? Then you express Satan, the devil. So therefore, the lower self is Satan to the higher self, right? And the higher self is Satan to the lower self. They are just opposites, and they're adversaries to each other. That's all it is. Well, Chief, how can you call God Satan? Yes, God is Satan to the lower self, because the lower self is always in contradiction to the higher self. But you see, they will not teach you the truth. So when you read the Bible and you hear this God in the Bible, is God is good all the time, and all the time God is good, but yet still God will come down and tell the Israelites, go to this nation and smite this nation and take their babies and rape the babies and rape the women. What kind of God that's good all the time will do something like that? And people don't read for themselves to comprehend. There is nowhere in the Bible that Satan that you're afraid of, that devil that you're afraid of, there's nowhere in the Bible that this devil has killed one individual without the instructions of God. But yet still, Satan is the bad one, right? And they always give God this excuse because he is big, bad, and bold. Well, he's God and he could do this. No, he can't. Because God is supposed to be good all the time. And all the time, God is supposed to be good. You feel me? So you cannot have it both ways. It's either your God is good all the time and all the time God is good, or you just say, nah, man, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Something just ain't right. And a lot of religious people, okay, well, typical example, right? Somebody gets into an accident and they broke their back. For some reason, they're paralyzed, right? Instead of saying what it is, you would hear religious people say, oh, well, sorry you had to go through that. It's God's will. Hold up. God is good all the time, but you're telling me it's God's will that I have to be paralyzed? What's so good about that? So you see, God is not good all the time if that's based on what you are saying. You feel me? But the truth of the matter is, God is actually good all the time, because that's what it's supposed to be. So you cannot tell me God is good all the time, but yet still God is doing bad things. You see, that's why people don't truly understand what or who God is. You see what I'm saying? God has to remain good all the time. That's why God created a nemesis to do all the dirty work that he or she cannot do himself or herself, because that hands have to remain clean. It have to remain good. It's literally duality. It is the same pole, but different polarities. The same body, one left arm, one right arm. You feel me? The same body, one sole of my feet, one crown of my head. You feel me? That's all it means. So therefore, Kanye West is going through the transition of stepping into the higher self. And there's a little bit of internal confusion, a little bit of internal chaos, because he hasn't quite getting it yet. He just knows something is wrong. Okay? And then society will label you. Even the people that was in your corner, they will help crucify you. So let's go back to the story of the allegorical Jesus again, right? When Jesus got baptized by John, people think it's a physical baptism. No, it wasn't physical. It was all mental. Okay? Pardon me, because the 12 disciples is actually 12 faculties that we all have within us. All that men did was give these faculties a personage, right? They gave them a personality, they gave them a name, and they made it a living thing, all right? A physical thing. But the 12 disciples is not physical, just like your chakras are not physical. Yes, it's in the physical body, but it's not physical. So the 12 disciples, they are literally energy centers or portals that's actually within us. They are actually portals. All right? That's within us. And they are all responsible they all have characteristics. So therefore, John is the one that was supposed to baptize. Judas have the characteristics of always being truthful, always betraying. That's some of the faculties. Thomas is the one that's always doubting. That's why you always hear the term doubtful Thomas. So they all have their own characteristics. Okay? And your goal, my goal, our goal is to master these 12 faculties, aka 12 disciples, and become the 13th son, which is 13 is God. Let me get a pen and break that down for you. 13 is God. That's why they want you to be afraid of 13. That's why on floors they don't have the elevator going to 13, because if you go to floor number 13, you will experience something. Then all the floors, they will bypass 13 because they don't want you to feel that God vibration. God is 13. That's why Jesus was the 13th son. The sun that you see up in the sky, the central sun is Jesus. That is the central sun. That is the 13th son. Because when the mother, let me break this down for y'all, absolutely spiritual elevation, you are limitless. And when you tell people these things, they think that you're talking about the flesh. We're not talking about the flesh, right? So let me break this down for y'all, right? So okay, so you see this word here, darkness, right? Everything came from darkness, not blackness. There's a difference. Black means, okay, the only time for anything to appear black is when it absorbs all the light on the visible light spectrum. Now, I'm going to break this down for y'all. The only time things appear black is when it absorbs all the light on the visible spectrum. If it doesn't appear all the light on the visible spectrum, it will not be black. Okay? And white reflects all the light on the visible spectrum. Now, what happened to all the rest of the light that's not absorbed in the visible spectrum? Then it will not appear black. All right? So therefore, darkness is not blackness. All darkness means is void of light. Now, if I were to turn all these lights off, then I would be in the darkness. I am actually going back to primordial source energy. That's why when they say you meditate, you close your eyes. Why? You have to go back into the darkness from whence you came. Because that's the only truth that exists, is darkness. The light is what gives illusion. The two-seeing eye is what gives illusion. That's why, once again, in the allegorical Bible, it says something about the eye being single. Now, I'm going to find that verse for you. If somebody could pull that verse up for me real quick, and then I'll go over that verse and break it down. You feel me? So when you truly get it, you're able to live your life as the God that you want. So we have darkness, all right? In the beginning, the earth was filled with void. And then it said, let there be light. In other words, okay? In other words, the darkness, which is what they deemed the mother. So that's why when people talk about God and they're not talking about the mother, what, to me, that's just such a disrespect. It's just such a disrespect. Even these so-called enlightened people, these so-called woke people, oh, well, he, the Most High, he, always looking out for me, he. What you mean he? What happened to her? Huh? That everything came through, not from, but through. See, from denotes a beginning. Through denotes absolute. No beginning, no end. You feel me? So therefore, the darkness, which is absolute, ab, okay, so, lute, all right? So darkness is absolute, right? Light is also absolute. But however, light had to come through the darkness. So from the mother, what they made evil, what they took away, they made a ghost, right? It was just one, the all. Everything is within the all. Everything is within the darkness, the great spirit, right? The universal all. That's everything within the darkness. Now, within the darkness, things started things started to happen, right? And then the light came through, not from, but through. Okay, through. So this arrow that I'm putting here coming, it may seem like it's coming from, but it's not coming from. It's coming through because darkness is absolute. Darkness is not a being, but however, darkness is beingness. Beingness is absolute. Okay? So therefore, the physical body is a being, but the I am is in beingness. It is limitless, omnipresent, omnipotent. I hope you get that. So, darkness, the light, the darkness started, vibrating. And then the darkness said, hey, you know what? There's something in me. I need to see what's going on. So the darkness, the mother said, let there be light. So therefore the light was the firstborn. The firstborn was the light. So the light came through the mother, and that was the firstborn son. Sonosun. Whichever way you want to put it is the same damn thing. Okay? Now, so the one became two. So then the Trinity had to be created. So what did the light do? The sun. The sun impregnated the mother, which is the darkness, and gave birth to another son. Here comes the Trinity. The mother is also the father, because the father is coming through the mother. All right, the mother is in the father and the father is in the mother, so they're one. All right, but that's when manifestation started taking place. Okay, that was a spiritual separation, ethereal separation, not physical. Okay, so therefore the light was the first son, or it depends on your perspective, it could be the first daughter, right? And impregnated the mother and had a son. So therefore the first son was also the husband of the mother. So that was the first form of spiritual incest. There is nothing wrong with incest. Man just made it something wrong because, again, you may say, well, Chief, you crazy. What you talking about? Well, let me ask you a question. If you were to believe the true story of Adam and Eve, where did the rest of the people come from? Obviously, somebody had to sleep with their mother or their sister or their cousin, right? Man just perverted everything. That's why the further back you go into antiquity or into history, right, you will see that nobility, they would marry their cousins to keep their bloodline pure. They would marry their sisters, their brothers. That's what they did. Egyptians did that because that was the common practice. Okay, so that was the first incestual spiritual incest. Also the first, what we call, give me a second, immaculate conception. Okay, So therefore, the one became two, then the two became three, right? And then the sons started to again impregnate the mother until you had the 12 sons, the 12 faculties. So the numbers 7 and 12 are very key. They are very, very key. That's why the world was created in 7 days. It was each son. Each son had a responsibility to create, to create. So 7 different creations, 7 different root races, 7 different continents, 7 chakras. You see what I'm saying? You have to get those things. And I'm going into all this to kind of like break this down to you, right? So therefore, Jesus is the 13th son. Okay? The 13th son. So let us look at this word here. The number 13. 13, right? What does it look like? 13, if you put the 1 and the 3 together, it will give you a B, right? It will give you a B. Let's put it together. A B is actually 13. God. So therefore, that's why they tell you to be less. Be less than 13. Be less than God. So why would I want to be less? Why are you be lessing? Why, when people tell you bless you, you say thank you, bless you too? Why would I want to be less? Because that's what it actually means. Be less than 13. Be less than God. Because you're supposed to be the 13th son. So when you truly get this, your goal is to master your 12 faculties, which is your 12 disciples. Go through your internal baptism by John, because you know why? Judas, one of your faculties, is always going to give you what? He's always going to sell you for that 30 pieces of silver, right? Always going to do that. And then you have to go through your crucifixion. So that's what Kanye West is going through right now, his crucifixion. So he will experience some of his people helping him out, and the majority of his people turning their back on him. So that's why he's talking about Jay-Z. That's why he's talking about who else? A few other people that he's talking about, because now he's experiencing what Jesus experienced. So now he's going through. Kanye haven't gone through the persecution yet. He's going through the process, but he haven't been crucified yet. The worst is yet to come. But yet still, the worst is the best thing that's going to happen to him, because after he get crucified, that's when he'll become the Christ. You get it? So we all have to go through the process of crucifixion. But first, you must awaken your 12 disciples. Teach them how to be fishers of men. Master your 12 disciples. And once you have done that, you're going to ask your higher self to forgive you for all your transgressions and all your sins. Nobody could forgive you for your sins but you, because you are God. Nobody. I don't care how much you go down on your knees and pray to whatever you pray to. Trust me, your prayer is falling on deaf ears. I guarantee you that. Why do you think most religious people are broken poor and they're filled with dis-ease, but yet still they pray every day? Because what they are praying to have no ears. Because the only God there is you. You feel me? So the point I'm making is this. Kanye is going through the process of purification. Okay? It's an internal fire, internal baptism. Once he has done that, then he will be crucified. The public will put him up on that cross and show the world, look what we did to the man that called himself Jesus. Look what we did to the man that called himself Yeezy. Look what we did to this billionaire. We stripped him of everything. But guess what? After he is stripped of all that, then he will become the Christ. It is really that simple. It is just another allegory of the story of Jesus. That's all it is. Everything else is irrelevant, in my opinion, because people don't get it. So only he knows what he's going through. So I support the brother. You feel me? Now, he may not be going about things the way that you like it. Some of you may call him crazy. Some of you may think he's stupid. Whatever you want to say is fine. But I promise you, he's in a better position than you. Because you don't get it. Even when the allegorical Jesus had to go on the mountain, right? And like I said, that was in Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 to 11. When Satan, in fact, let me pull it up for you. We're about an hour in. I'm about to conclude that in a few. But let us go here. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. That's Matthew chapter 4, 1 to 11. Satan tempts Jesus. Now, we already looked at the etymology. Well, we haven't looked at the etymology of Satan. Well, first, let's find out what Satan is first before we even do that. Okay, because this deals with Satan, right? So let us go into the etymology of the word Satan, which I've already gone through, but we'll do it for the purpose of this lesson. And all this is being brought to you by my ministry, okay, the United Anianwea Empowerment Self-Support Ministry, all right? I am an ordained minister, just for those of you who didn't know, all right? But anyway, Satan, all right? The proper name is, again, a proper name of a supreme evil spirit and great adversary of humanity in Christianity. That's only in Christianity, okay? From Greek, Satanas. From Hebrew, Satan, adversary. So all Satan means in Hebrew is adversary, point blank. So let us just say you didn't even know this word Satan, or you never heard of this word Satan. What would that individual or that created spirit be called? That personified spirit, evil spirit, what would it be called? It would just be called adversary. That's all it would be called, right? It says adversary, one who plots against another. So anybody could be an adversary. Anybody could be Satan. To show enmity, to oppose, plot against. One who opposes, obstructs, or acts as an adversary. That's all Satan means. Satan doesn't mean somebody in hell competing, with God in heaven. That's not what it means. Because if God is this God that you say, how can Satan compete with God? See, there's no competition. So therefore, Satan is not what you think. All Satan means is adversary. So now that we know Satan only means adversary, let us go read Matthew 4, 1 to 11 with a little more clarification, if we may, okay? Let us go. So here we are. Satan tempts Jesus, the adversary. We got every time I see Satan, I'm going to replace it with adversary, and it's going to make sense to you, okay? And every time I see Jesus, I'm going to say me or I, okay, or you, all right? Because it's really, Jesus is just, again, an allegory to exemplify every individual man or woman, okay? So whenever I see Jesus, I'm going to say I. Whenever I see Satan, I'm going to say adversary. All right. So then I was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the adversary. All right. The Spirit is literally, all right. So let me give you an example of the Spirit. Have you ever heard that little voice in you? Whenever you do something, you'll be like, wow, man, my gut told me so. Something told me I shouldn't, or something told me I should have. That is a characteristic of the Spirit. That is the Spirit talking to you, right? So it's all within. Everything that Jesus was talking about here, the Bible is talking about here, it was all a personal experience. It had nothing to do with anything external. meaning that Satan wasn't outside of Jesus. It was his own thoughts. Okay? So then I was led up by the Spirit, which is my higher self, that voice in me, into the wilderness to be tempted by the adversary, my lower self. Okay? And when I fasted for 40 days and 40 nights after I was hungry. You see, the lower self is not going to tempt me if I'm filled. The lower self will only tempt me if I'm hungry, because you see, whenever you're hungry, there is a void. You see, I'm breaking this down in layman's terms. I'm breaking this down so a child could comprehend this. Okay? So I'm breaking this down for you, so I'm spoon feeding you this. All right? So let us read this again. Matthew chapter 4, 1 to 11. Then I, every time I see I, I'm going to say Jesus. Every time I see devil or Satan, I'm going to say adversary. Every time I say spirit, I'm talking about the higher self, or that's voice in me. That thing that always say, I told you so, right? That's always speaking to you, right? Then I was led up by the Spirit, my higher self, that voice in me, into the wilderness to be tempted by the adversary. Your mind is the wilderness. That's why anything that you plant into your mind, it blooms. Okay, it is the Garden of Eden in its pure form, in its pure sense. All right, verse 2. And I fasted 40 days and 40 nights after I was hungry. 3, that's when the tempter came. Because if I wasn't hungry, meaning that there wasn't a void, the tempter wouldn't come, because you see, I was fasting. I was filled with the Spirit. I was in my essence. So that energy around me, there is no room for the tempter to come, because I'm vibing, man. I'm meditating. I'm fasting. I'm in the Spirit. You feel me? But it's only when I was done, the tempter found a little space and said, I got him. That's when verse 3 comes in. And now when the tempter came, which is the lower self, to me, the tempter said, if you, which is me, are the Son of God, meaning that if I am truly the Son of the all, in other words, if I truly manifested from that all that I speak of, command that these stones become bread. Now, stone, when you look at a stone, it seems that stone have no life, right? Bread means that you could feed the multitude, right? That means you could fill, you could give life, right? So that's all it's saying. Number 4, but I answered and said, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone. In other words, man, the physical body, shall not live by only things that go into the mouth, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth. I'm going to repeat that. But I answered and said to my lower self, Satan, the adversary, it is written that man, the physical body, shall not live by bread alone. In other words, I shall not live by the things that only go into my mouth, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth. So in other words, whatever comes from my mouth, also I shall live by. Because my word is bond. My word is God. Remember we used to say that? Word is bond, my word is bond? That's what that means. Chapter 5. Then the lower self, the adversary, took me, the higher self, up into a holy city, set me on a pinnacle of a temple, and said to me, if you are the Son of this God that you speak of, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you. Now, let's break this down here. The lower self take the higher self up into this holy city, okay? Set the higher self on a pinnacle. Now let me ask you a question. Why would Jesus allow the devil to take him up on such a place when he knows the devil is bad. So therefore, this is actually telling you subliminally that the devil has some power, because if the devil could actually take Jesus into a holy city on this pinnacle of a temple, how is that? Why did Jesus allow the devil, the adversary, this bad man, to do that? Because it is all within himself. You feel me? It is not something external. It is all within himself. That's part of the journey, right? And said to the higher self, the lower self speaking to the higher self, if you are the Son of God, of the all, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. 7. And the higher self said, Jesus said to the lower self, it is written again, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. In other words, the lower flesh, the lower self should not tempt the higher self, but it's always the higher self that should tempt the lower self, because the higher self should always be the one in charge. Let's go back to the Sphinx again. Go look at the Sphinx. Animal body, human head. Higher self, lower self. The lower self should never tempt the higher self. And that's what's happening in society today. People are living through their lower selves, and they are allowing Satan, the adversary, the lower self, to tempt the higher self, which is the most high in you, which is you, the God. Number 8. Again, the adversary took. You see, took. Let me ask you a question. How is that Jesus is allowing the devil to take him? So for the devil to be able to take Jesus, it means that the devil had some power over Jesus. Because let me ask you a question. If the police come and take me, doesn't that mean they have power to take me? They have the guns. Now, I could resist and get shot. But if I don't want to get shot, what choice do I have? They got guns. So that means they have some type of authority over me. It's the same thing in that scenario. Again, it happened again. Second time. Right? So let's just say, fool me once, it's your fault. Fool me twice, it's my fault. So now that's again. So let's just say the first time it was Jesus didn't know. Let's just say the first time it was the devil's fault, right? How is that it's happening again? So therefore now it's Jesus' fault. So you see, it was intentional. It was internal. All that was happening within himself. So number 8, again, the devil, the adversary, the lower self took him, the higher self, up on a what? Exceedingly high mountain. In other words, I'm going to take you to the highest point. And showed me all the kingdoms of the world and the glory. Now you're going to show me all these wonderful things, all these amazing things, which was already mine in the first place, because what? The first covenant was be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. It's already mine. So why are you showing me something that's already mine? Inherently, it's mine. By birthright, it's mine. But let's read. And the lower self said to the higher self, all these things I will give if you fall down and worship me. In other words, the lower self is tempting the higher self to be submissive to the lower self, to glorify the lower self, to worship the lower self. And that's what a lot of you are doing right now. Number 10. Then the higher self, Jesus, said to him, away with you. See, he's talking to himself. Satan, adversary, lower self. I'm not listening to you, man. For it is written, because remember, the word of God is already written in here. It's here. It's not in the book. It's here. Okay, you came here with it. You shall worship the Lord your God. In other words, lower self, you have to worship me because I am the most high. You feel me? I am the most high. I'm in charge, not you. You're not going to tempt me. You're not going to bring me down to the wilderness. No. I am the higher self. I am your Lord. And only the higher self you shall serve. So in other words, Jesus is reiterating and saying, listen, man, I don't care what you show me. I am the boss. And you should only serve your Lord, which is the higher self. And it's only him or her that you will serve or shall serve. Number 11, then the lower self left him. Satan left him. And behold, angels came and ministered to the higher self. Angels are nothing but angles of light. Angel, angles of light. Look at the word angel, Angels. Look at the word angle, Angle. An angle is an angel. Angel, angle of light. And came and ministered to him. In other words, uplifted him. Because why? He overcame the temptation of the lower self. And that's what Kanye West is doing right now. Okay? Yes, at first he may have taken the bag because he was in his lower self. But now he's rising into his higher self, and that's what's happening to him right now. You feel me? So they're stripping him of everything. And that's truly the story of most of the celebrities. When they were taken on high and they would show the glorious cities and say, hey, you know what? All this I could give you if you sell your soul, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they did. So when you get into this contract with the lower self, with the adversary, especially the ones that's there to stand to manifest the lower self, that's all their job is. Remember, we live in a world of duality. Someone have to manifest Satan and someone have to manifest God. The question is, which one do you want to manifest? Do you want to manifest your higher self or do you want to manifest your lower self? So now he's going through the process of the crucifixion. And then they're going to put him up in front of the world, strip him of everything, take away his life, so to speak. Not physically, I hope not, right? But take away everything, meaning that, all his possessions, right? Destroy him physically, right? And then once that's done, then Kanye will find true peace. He will find his Christos. He will find himself. But first, the crucifixion must be completed. The whole process of the crucifixion with Jesus was a ritual. That's what it was. And that's all it will ever be. We all have to go through our crucifixion. I went through mine about 5 or 6 years ago. Okay? I went through mine. It was terrible. I'm talking about spiritually. It was a heavy burden. My entire right side of my body almost got paralyzed. Not by no accident, but by spiritual forces. Okay? And the adversary, okay? And again, adversary, just the lower self, the lower realm, the lower vibrations. It could be within you or it could come from others. That's all it means is adversary, right? When the adversaries came, it was more than one. One came and it wasn't powerful enough. They brought another one to join that one. It wasn't powerful enough. They brought another one. And then they brought a whole squad of them. And that's when they started, I felt it. Almost paralyzed my right side of my body, but I was too powerful. Too powerful. You know what I mean? After that crucifixion, I rose again. So we all have to go through this. We all have to. It just is what it is, man. You feel me? So all I'm just saying is this. Let us send positive energy to the brother, man. You know what I mean? Regardless of whatever the situation is, he's still one of us. And when I say one of us, I'm talking about he's still our brother. Sending positive energy. Okay, what he's going through, you may not comprehend it. It may not be in your will to comprehend, okay? Because it's not meant for you. But you looking at it merely from a physical perspective, you here judging them, and you're not getting it. You're not getting it. And that's because it's not for you to get. But when you step into another realm of existence, you see things as from a bird eye view. You see things from a God perspective. And that's how you always, so you're supposed to see things. And when you see from a God perspective, you know exactly how to control your emotions. You feel me? It is really that simple. Okay, because emotions is nothing but a wave of vibrations. Okay, that's leading you in different directions. That's all it means. And people are all over the place distracted with that. Let us send the brother lots of positive energy, regardless of whatever you think he did or who he slept with. All that's irrelevant, man. That's just the flesh. All right. But this brother is fighting against the system. Dave Chappelle fought against the system. Tupac fought against the system. Okay. Cat Williams fought against the system. Yes, they may not have done it in a perfect way, so to speak, based on other people's perception of what perfection is. I have my own way of making my own declaration of fighting against the system. We all do. We all do. Okay, this is a form of fighting against the system. I am indigenous. This is my land. You see, so we all have our battle. We all have our wars. But first, we have to fight them individually before we are able to fight them collectively. I'm going to repeat that. If you cannot fight the battles individually and win the war individually, I promise you, you will not win it collectively. Because first, you have to deal with your situations. You feel me? You cannot go out here telling people you love them if you don't love yourself. You cannot go out here promising men or women great and perfect relationships if you are in a terrible relationship with yourself. Yes, we have relationships with ourselves. In fact, that's the most important relationship, is the one you have with yourself. But most people, the relationships with themselves is chaos. It's chaotic, but yet still they're out here looking for love and telling people, I could make you happy, but you can't make yourself happy. I mean, where they do that at? But you see, that's the illusion that you are giving yourself and you are giving other people. So for me, I have gone through all this. And don't get me wrong, I still have personal battles I'm certainly sure I have to deal with and fight, and it's okay. But I've won most of them so far. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful to the higher self for that, because you see, I know I am not the physical self. So therefore, every time I rise, I allow the spiritual self, I allow the Most High, which is my higher self, to command the lower self. So I speak life into the lower self. Yes, higher self, this is your body. This is your vessel. This is your avatar. You're the one that's dwelling in this. So do me a favor, please. Let it be the liking of what you want it to be. Let it be the body that you require. Let it be the body that you deserve. Let it be the state of mind that you want to be in. So I want you to give it life. I want you to give it the fountain of youth. I want you to heal it so that it could be strong and powerful. So every day, I ask my higher self to show the lower self how to be more like you. And this is what the journey is all about. Whether it's individually, whether it's collectively. The truth of the matter is the personal journey, okay, it comes and it has to be fulfilled, all right, before we could actually manifest the all. Because the all within its natural realm, in its absolute realm, in its omnipresent, omnipotent realm, is always intact. It is always in place. However, individualized, it is divided. You feel me? And a lot of times I hear people say, Oh, I am divine. Well, why would you want to be divine? Well, let's look at the word divine. Let's look at the word divine, right? Divine. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull this up. Let me see. Okay. All right. So this is the word divine, right? Now, I know a lot of people may say, well, Chief, it's different. No, it's, you see, when you're speaking, that's why the power of life and death is in the tongue. All right. Divine. Now, can anybody tell me what are grapes on? Grapes, right? Can anybody post, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube? What are grapes on? Grapes. Real quick, anybody? Can anybody type it real quick? We got 10 seconds. If not, I'm going to say it. Can anybody tell me what are grapes on? Grapes. Thank you. Truth over fiction. Vine, right? So if grapes are actually on a vine, it means that it is still connected to the source. Now, when you are picking grapes, what are you doing? You are divining the grapes. You are taking it away from its source, from its foundation. So therefore, when you claim to be divine, what are you doing? You are separating yourself from the vine. And what's the vine? The vine is the all. The vine is God. The vine is the higher self. So why would you want to do that? The power of life and death is in the tongue. So you always want to be vine, not divine. That's trickery. You see what I'm saying? The same thing as be less. Why would you want to be less? And people go, oh, Chief, it's not the same. What you mean it's not the same? It is the same thing. Just because you spell it differently doesn't mean it's not. You don't want to be less. You want to be highly favored. Because you are highly favored. So when you're always claiming that you will be less, you'll always be lacking. Oh, here we go again. Black. Black. Okay? You see, you have to look at the words. Look at the words again. Black. B-L-A-C-K. Black. Now, remember I broke down the letter and the B and 13. 13. Black means be less than God. Be less than 13 son. So anyhow you look at it, they are all curses. They are spiritual curses. They're rituals. They're spells that they got you casting on yourself and you don't even know. And then you wonder, oh, well, why is all this thing happening to black people? Oh, it's because of their color of their skin. What part of your skin is black? I'll wait. What nationality is black? I'll wait. What country is called black? I'll wait. So when you start breaking down the words, remember, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds. Where do the words come from? Your mouth. So you are not just living by the things you put in your body. You're also living by the things that come from out of your mouth. Absolutely. Okay. It's about that energy, that frequency. Okay. The vibrations. And that's what words are. That's how words move. That's how words manifest. You speak it. Okay? Speaking is a form of action. And that action is carried out through vibrations. And that vibrations creates, once it hits the universe, it starts shaking and it starts doing what? It starts manifesting. That's why anything you throw against the universe, it will bring it back tenfold. Because that's the way we created it. I said we, yes, you heard me correctly. So it's nothing outside of you. All right? So let us give this brother Kanye a break. Let's send him lots of positive energy. Okay? Energy, whichever way you want to say it, is fine. Okay, let us wish him the best. Let us not knock him down. Because his purpose might be just a little bit bigger than what you could comprehend. You may not agree with everything that he does, but I think what he's doing is for the greater good. Okay? Maybe he served the term of his contract. Maybe he served the term of his obligation, his covenant, or maybe he didn't. But within every contract, you have a right to get out of the contract if it's not being beneficial to you. Now, there may be some consequences. In other words, there may be a penalty. Let me give you an example. If you have your 401k, that's a contract. And there is a term of that contract, a duration of that contract, okay? Where that contract, it becomes mature, right? Whether it's a year or 2 years. And before that time, you cannot take any money from your 401k, or you cannot get out of it, period, right? Until that term is up, whether it's for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, etc., right? So if you want to take money from your 401k before the maturation or before that time that's allocated on that contract, then guess what? You have to pay a penalty. So Kanye's penalty may be a lot. But when it's all said and done, after they have penalized them, is he going to be free? That is the number one question. And guess who could only answer that? Kanye West. Because only he knows, and will he ever know when he's free. That's it. You see, you could be free. I am free. I am a free man. Because my I am is free. But the physical body is not free. Why? Because if I drive down the street and let's just say a sign says stop, and or a red light, right? And for some reason I stop and I look left, I look right, and no traffic was coming, and I proceeded, right? And the police officer stopped me. He gives me a ticket. Now, I did stop and I didn't harm anybody, but I got stopped. So the physical body is not free. And the physical body will always be in some form of enslavement in this physical realm. Always know that. Nobody could be free. So when you hear people talking, oh, well, you could do this paperwork and this and you'll be free, man, trust me. That is a bunch of caca. Okay? And in Creole, that means S-H-I-T. It's a bunch of that. Okay? Like I tell people, I'm not here to give nobody illusions, man. I'm here to give y'all the real. The only true freedom comes from within. That's it. Yes, you may have some more of freedom to do certain things that others may not be able to do. Yes. But in this physical realm, at least in this particular time, nobody could ever be free. Why? Because the physical body will always have limitations, whether it is self-imposing or whether it's imposed by others. That physical body will always be a slave to something or somebody. Your goal now is to make it a slave to only you as much as you can, and not to the system or to other people. You see, that's the difference. And that's what I had to learn along the way. This is my machine. This is my avatar, and it should be my slave, nobody else's. But if I do choose to get into contracts, okay, and have this physical body be enslaved to a certain extent, then I have the right to do that. But I also have the right to rescind that contract if it's bringing harm to my physical body or my avatar or my person. You feel me? So I hope this video made sense. Okay. And once again, I'm just here to teach. I'm just here to enlighten. You know, and it took me a very, very, very long time to get here. Not just because I'm not just talking about, you know, time physically. I'm talking about time, you know, within myself, you know, going through my journey, going through, you know, through my transition. And that's what it's all about. You know, at one point, I told myself, like, you know what, I never want to move back. Yes, I could take a step backwards sometimes to move forward, but I want to be like the grasshopper. You see, the grasshopper never jumps from side to side. It never jumps back. It's always moving forward. It's always projecting. So I want to be able to, I always practice living my life that way, always moving forward, never be stagnant. Move forward, always be projecting. And that takes discipline. When you look at the word discipline, what does it remind you of? Disciple. Because discipline is literally the characteristics of your disciples, your 12 faculties collectively. That is discipline. So Jesus had discipline because why? He mastered his disciples. So when you're able to master your disciples, you will have discipline. What makes me so different than somebody else who rise in the AM, right? And I decide, you know what, I'm going to eat cashews, or I'm going to drink coconut water, or I'm going to eat fruits, opposed to a McDonald's burger. What gives me the discipline to say, well, you know what, for lunch, I'm going to have a salad, or I'm going to have a smoothie, opposed to some fried chicken. You see, it is all about discipline. That's all it is. Discipline. And once you are allowing the lower self to rule your life, then you will be losing that battle. Because now you are allowing your spiritual, your higher self, the Most High, to be a slave to the lower self. And all the higher self is there to do is to guide the lower self. But the lower self must be the slave. You feel what I'm saying? So I hope all this makes sense. So again, let us send, well, me personally, I can't tell you what to do, but I'm sending a lot of positive energy out there to Kanye. I hope he finds himself. And the goal is really to step out of this system, to truly live an organic life as much as possible. And that's what this is all about. Even in New York, the people who lost their jobs because of the vaccine situation, the mandate, the judges overturned that. So like I told you all before, there is more good people in the world than bad people, because we are living in an era, okay, where everything that's done in the dark must come to light. We are living in an era where truth will reign, where truth will stand. That's all there is, because we have stepped into the golden age, in at least the beginning part of it. Okay, where all systems will fall and the higher self will rise. You feel me? And you will see gods walk the face of the earth again. You will see miracles happen again. I have performed miracles. And I've told y'all that story on many occasions. Okay. My right knee, literally, I don't know what it was. Maybe because I'd stopped working out for a little while. I was stressed out. My right knee was gone. I couldn't even walk properly. I couldn't run. I couldn't do nothing. And I told myself, nah, man, nah, I'm a young man. Like, this can't happen. And I literally started talking life into my right knee. And in less than a month, I was sprinting, I was running. And even up to this day, I'm doing rounds and miles, because that's a miracle. I performed that miracle on myself because I get it. You know, I could have gone down on my knees asking some other energy to do that. That's outside of me. Nobody has that power to do that but me. You feel me? So when you truly know who you are and yourself, then you know that you could speak health, you know, physical wealth over your body. You know, you could speak financial wealth over your life. I mean, anything that you want, you can do. It's yours. Because remember, this, all of this, we have dominion and power over it. It is ours. And we allowed the lower self to take it, all right, and rule over the higher self. And that's what we're dealing here with today. You feel me? So a few years ago, I had rescinded lots of contracts that I couldn't fulfill physically. Okay. It wasn't within my reach, so to speak, to fulfill those obligations, whether it was knowingly or unknowingly. So what I did was I did a little declaration and I put it in a bottle and I put it in some water and just let it go. So all the contracts that I was aware of and not aware of, I put it out there in the universe and I said, hey, listen, I know that I've gotten into some contracts. Some are knowingly, some are unknowingly, some are voluntary, and some are involuntary. But whatever the case may be, for those that I could fulfill, I am willing to honor them. And for those I cannot fulfill, I rescind them because they are of no benefit to me. I actually wrote that out and I put that out there in the universe. So I'm just giving you another jewel on how to rescind certain contracts. But if those contracts are within your reach, meaning that you could fulfill them, please do. Because again, it's about what you are doing, your actions, right? If you know you could do something because you agreed to doing it, don't just ignore it just because you can. Fulfill the ones that you can, the ones that's within reach, as long as it's not causing you any harm. But for those that you can't, again, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly or voluntarily or involuntarily, you could rescind them. And only you could do that. So do that for yourself and learn to forgive yourself for the things that you have done knowingly and unknowingly, because we do certain things that we're not aware of and it causes harm. So you have to forgive yourself for that. Only you could forgive yourself because ye are God. Ye are God's. It's nothing outside of you. Yes, somebody could forgive you for the things that you have done to them, but that's them forgiving you for themselves. But you have to forgive yourself for yourself. There is no other judge but you. Your judge is your karma. So everything that you do, your karma, what's called karma, is going to judge you. And we created karma as the equalizer. And like I said, I've already broken that down before. Can you imagine that there is a God sitting up somewhere in the sky judging everything that you do? That just doesn't make sense. Why? Because especially with a jealous God, that jealous God will show preference. And God is not supposed to show any preference because God is supposed to love everybody. Isn't that correct? You see what I'm saying? So once again, when you truly dig deep and start thinking independently of what they're teaching you, of their interpretation, then you find the truth. So the only judge is you. The only God is you. I'm talking about individually. It is you, nothing outside of yourself. So when you go on your knees and talk about, well, you know, like again, people, you know, they make me laugh, and not laughing at people. They just make me laugh when they start talking about, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I pray to the Most High. You don't know what you're talking about. But again, it's, you know, it's okay. You on your way. I get it. You know, you'll be all right. You feel me? So in conclusion, let us send positive energy to Kanye and others like him, Dave Chappelle and all those people. That's Cat Williams. And again, that's out there making an impact, okay, to break down this system of illusion. Okay. Yes, we may not agree with everything that they do and say. That's fine. Okay. But let's focus on the message, the mission at hand. And for you personally, know that you are God. And thou shalt not have any other God but me. Who is me? I am me. All right. So let us not be less. Let us not bless each other. Let us speak life over each other. You are highly favored. All right. Stop being divine and learn to be vine, connected to the all. That's where you want to be again. You want to be vine. Okay. You don't want to be divine. You felt me? And stop being lack. You feel me? You are highly favored. You are number 13. You're the 13th son. You are the light of the world. And as long as you live your life in truth, as much as you can, you're going to be just fine. So I wish y'all a beautiful continuation. Enjoy the rest of this amazing experience. All right, because that's all it is, man. It's an experience, right? Okay. I am that I am. I am indigenous. I love y'all. Your brother Chief Kalinago. I'm out. Oh, before I go, let me give some shout outs, man. I like to just give everybody a little shout out. Let me see who we have here. Okay, just give everybody a little shout. So on YouTube, so we have Empress Bella. Thank you for being a part of the build. Much love. Brother Jason. All right, much love. Who else do we have? Um, Sister Valerie, thank you for being a part of this build. Spiritual elevation. Pardon me. Thank you for being a part of this build. Who else do we have? Let me see. Deflect was the Deflect BS. All right, I like that. Deflect BS. All right. Thank you for being a part of this build. Bouillon Smith, you already know how we do. Appreciate you. Ramel Higgins, thank you for being a part of this build. Much love. Appreciate that. Maine, just showing you some love. Thank you for being a part of this build. Who else do we have? Who else do we have? Okay, already got those people. Okay, John Jones, thank you for being a part of this build. Appreciate that. Who else do we have? Okay, all right. So let me block this person real quick. Block user. We don't need all this stuff right here. Okay. Lisa, thank you for being a part of this build. Andre, I totally agree. The brother is not crazy. All right. Who else do we have? Animus, thank you for being a part of this build. Amani, thank you for being a part of this build. I appreciate you. Thank you. Billionaire Bitcoin Club. All right. Thank you for being a part of this build. Who else do we have? Just showing everybody a little bit of love. Truth over fiction. Much respect. Bradford Blair, thank you for being a part of this build. All right. Truth over fiction. I think I already gave you a shout out, but just in case I didn't. Patty Osborne, Aborn, thank you for being a part of this build. Kevin Smith, much respect. All right. Okay, beautiful. Yes. So who else do we have? And on Facebook, let me see, because some people are actually on Facebook and some people are actually on YouTube. Facebook, we have let me see, Bobby L. Sneed, thank you for being a part of this build. Salima, thank you. Don Bledsoe, Madeline Pierre, Diane Meyer, Fatima, Adam, my brother Makai King. Make sure y'all check out the Drip Shop. John, Shanika. Who else do we have? My brother Brian Little, always on the road. May the ancestors continue to guide you on the road, brother. Ra Johnson, my cousin Nessia, pardon me. Denise, Rasta Empress. Make sure y'all check her out. She takes amazing pictures. Patty and Kelly James, thank you again for being a part of this build, man. I hope y'all found some value in this lesson, and let us continue to grow, man, and continue to fight the lower self so we all could rise into the higher self and create a new dimension of what we call heaven on earth. All right, because the earth is not going anywhere. All right, so yes, the world will change, but the earth will not change. All right, the earth is always here. All we have to do now is, as our place of habitat, we just have to grow into our higher selves and create this new heaven on earth so we all could experience this bliss Instead of being be less, why don't you be less, right? Blessful, be blessed. All right. So that's what it's all about, man. Thank you. And we will talk soon. All right. Y'all take care. Don't forget my Niji brand. Well, my Niji Creations. I'm indigenous. Got more stuff coming. The shirts, the website is actually working on that right now. Support the so just support the culture, man. All right. I love y'all. We'll talk soon.